another GSL series from Group D. This time around, we have Ryung here in the bottom right, spawning as our blue Terran playing for Onside Gaming. And in the top left for Matcherino, Max Angel, also known as Astrea, of course. And the first map will be Neo-Humanity, which is odd. This is a map that often gets vetoed by Terran, either, well, actually majority of the time these days, as the first veto. So in the best of 5, we still will not see it. Sometimes Terran players prefer altitude in best of 5s. Sometimes I've even seen altitude in best of 3s, but Neo-Humanity, I don't think I ever really see in best of 3s. We saw it actually between TY and Classic, I want to say, in which TY decided to play Turtle Mech, and then eventually went into mass battle cruisers, or well, a couple of battle cruisers. It wasn't mass. So a bunch like 6, 7 or so. Interesting game that was, and this also most likely is going to be an interesting game. Probe gets a very important scout here on that Marine. I don't think it managed to get any vision up the ramp. If it did, it will be aware of the fact that this is a factory before reactor. But at least the confirmation of it being a Marine first is already pretty big. Because now you know that first unit of yours can just move across the map without any real issues. Reactor going down behind this, and I really wonder what the opener is going to be here for Astrea. Seems to me like it's going to be a Twilight Council. Ooh, a robotics facility, the least likely opener out of all openers that exists in this matchup. There's one player that doesn't mind playing it, and that is Hero. Hero has shown a crap ton of builds with Robo first, things like well, literally anything. 3-gate pressures with Robo. I've seen him go into charge lot from Robo. I've seen him play into Phoenixes on Babylon once with Robo as well. So he really is capable of absolutely everything. Stalker moves across the map, does not quite get a kill, but will delay the orbital command research, which is nice by itself. Don't forget that. First unit here that's going to be out will be a Hellion for Ryung. Now, what is this Hellion going to be capable of? It should be capable of running past this Stalker. But that's not really good enough, is it? What do we have at home behind this? Okay, it is going to be a Robo into Stargate with a fast Prism. This is very similar to the build that Hero executed on Babylon a while back. So Astrea is going to be playing this with triple units. But I think it's just going to get scouted. No. Gets back home with this Adept at least. As this Stalker still halfway across the map. What's the follow-up going to be? It's going to be a tank. So the mind games have worked out. The mind games have worked out. It's going to be a tank push here. Is this Prism? Oh, Prism's going to get spotted. This is not necessarily bad as long as the Stargate. You can't allow a scout on the Stargate. Although, now that I think about it, this seems like a fairly bad build against anything that hits hard, that hits aggressively, because you're investing a lot in a Prism early on, which does not provide any real value in the early game. So unless Ryung decides to stay at home with the tank, which he does, I think this is not going to be great. Okay, it's just going to be a pure Marine drop across the map. Interesting move. Triple Adepts moving towards this Prism now, and we're going to get a 7 Marine drop. There's not really going to be much to defend at home. And I think this is going to be the reality a lot of times here. If you open up like this does feel fairly greedy. It's going to be Viking Cyclone follow-up, probably a third base as well. It's kind of what I'm smelling here in the air. This Prism might be in a little bit of trouble. It's going to be Stalker, Adept. What do we have in the main base? The 7 Marines get the drop. There's only 3 Phoenixes there. That's not going to be enough to truly deal with it. Prism ends up falling as well. And now, yeah, these Marines are just gonna start going ham. I mean, ooh, actually picks up and leaves. Really? What? I swear that 7 Marines and a Medevac are capable of taking out at least 1 more Phoenix here, and maybe even a couple of extra probes. There was hardly any production, hardly any units. I think this was a bit of a blunder here by Ryung, who definitely had the ability to deal more damage if he, if he just stayed around for a bit more. Now it's going to send this army out on the map. Probably will want to join up with the Marines with the main army. There's no third CC yet. It's going to be built on position here on the third base location. So we now have a move out towards the third of Astrea on the other side of the map. There are 4 Phoenixes here, but a Cyclone plus a Viking should be capable of pushing those away, keeping those Marines safe. This is going to be a cancel on this base. I think that's That's the least I expect here. If Astrea doesn't take any major damage in his natural, I think this would be an okay setup for him. Or at least it's going to be the best possible scenario for him here. Like, there's no way you can get a third base until that Colossus is out. I just don't buy it. He's gonna try the alternative third base, or well, the standard third. This really was the alternative third base. And here comes Ryung pushing forward. This is a very tight little choke. There is no battery done quite yet. The Colossus is still about 8-9 seconds away from finishing. And that's going to be perhaps an expensive 8-9 seconds. Needs to be so darn careful here. Both players need to be so darn careful. Because now that the Colossus is out, all of a sudden these Marines are practically useless. And Astrea is going to be looking to pick a fight here. 6 Phoenixes. 1 Immortal, 1 Colossus. No, Astrea doesn't go in for the chase. Will send the Phoenixes across the map. It's going to be sad when he sees that third command center finishing up right in front of his eyes. He's not going to be capable of getting a cancel there. This Viking will get taken out basically immediately. This tank might also be in a little bit of trouble if he ain't careful. Oh, here we get a lift on this Cyclone. Double Viking is helping out. 1 Phoenix will go down. Second Phoenix gets targeted as well, but should be capable of surviving. Maybe these Phoenixes want to turn around, fight the Vikings. Yes, that's exactly what Astrea wants to be doing here. Needs to be so careful, though, with these low Phoenixes. 93 supply against 78, and at the end of the day, I think the situation is playable here for Astrea. Has a decent Phoenix count, has a first Colossus, second Colossus on the way, Thermal lands over halfway down, Forge plus Twilight coming in as well, and his third base is now set up. Really felt like Ryung dropped the ball a little bit, initially with that Marine drop, and then afterwards with the tank push. Had that tank push gone to the natural, I think it's almost a straight up win. And even afterwards, I think he could have pushed a little bit harder towards killing probes. But perhaps I am wrong. And if I am wrong, then my apologies to you, Ryung. Really felt like there just was a little bit more in there. More left in the tank. The damage tank. 2 SCVs got taken out here by the Phoenixes. That brings us to a total of 8 workers killed so far in this game. That's a decent amount, but it's not the end of the world. Fort base does go down of a very low gateway count. Actually, of a single gateway count. So this is 4 bases off of 1 gateway, double Forge, Twilight Council, Stargate, Robotics Facility, and Robotics Bay. So literally all the tech, except the Fleet Beacon, Templar Archives, and Dark Shrine. A single gate and a fort base. So yes, the supplies are very even, but a significant amount of money now will need to be invested into production. And that's going to cut his supply a little bit. So we're going to see Ryung probably pull ahead by, I want to say 20, 25 supply or so in the next minute maybe. That's what I'm kind of expecting here. And then you'd want to hit, if you're Ryung, exactly just before the first warp in hits. Like, that would be the ideal timing. So this move out is actually going to come at the perfect spot. Despite having very little information, the game sense here of Ryung seems to be fine. Look at that. It's going to be a 24 supply lead right now for Ryung. A lot of that is in army. Charge not quite done yet. This is actually going to be a really powerful timing. Like, there's only specialist units here. Phoenixes and Colossi. That's it. Max Angel right now needs to win some freaking time. Because if he is not going to be winning any time, then he might just end up dying straight up here. 1-1 not finished yet either. It's going to be 1-1 for Ryung versus 0-0 of Astrea, who just rallied the Disruptor towards its own demise. 2 batteries are about to go up. That will help. Immortal plus Colossi should be capable of pushing back those Marauders. More and more Zealots now being warped in. 8 gateways are already warp gates, as 2 more will transition into warp gates as well. Here comes either a Zealot flank or a Zealot run by. It's going to be a flank that gets caught. That is not great here for Astrea. It really isn't. As the tank push continues on forward. Disruptor from the side could potentially throw a Disruptor ball into this. Another misrally on this Disruptor as it gets targeted down. Zealots coming from the side. Phoenix is getting blasted here by the Marines. Half of Ryung's army is fighting a Nexus though. That is a lot of lost DPS, as this is, well, not even going to completely get cleaned up. But imagine with that added damage output that just killed a Nexus, I really feel like that Ryung could have done slightly better in this fight. 2-2 is now starting for Astrea, who is at 140 supply. And I think this is the scariest timing right now that Ryung is going to be facing. This is where he is the weakest. There's 3 ghosts in production for him. I don't understand this attack. I don't understand this fight. What are you trying to achieve here? Well, losing supply, that's what he's trying to achieve. And if that was actually his goal, then, well, mission accomplished, I would say. Because his forward base here has just started. He's investing into an armory. He's investing into ghosts. He basically has a power spike in about a minute from now, once these ghosts arrive, and he decided to fight pre-ghost. He also is going to have a bit of a spike in income once this forward base finishes up. He just killed his opponent's Nexus. So Astraea is going to be the strongest that he is going to be in the next minute and a half, right at that point after you kill the Nexus. I don't understand why that was the timing for Ryung to pick another fight after seeing what his opponent's army consisted of as well. That was a colossal blunder, honestly. Not the type of play that you'd expect from Ryung, who is usually known for his very solid decision making. It's one of his big pluses as a player, that he just has very solid decision making. Now, this Zealot individually being micro trying to chase an SCV is kind of cute. It's not quite working out though. Observer here providing some vision. The only black spot right now on the map for Astraea is going to be this general area where there are still rocks, but he needs to keep an eye on that. It's very important to get either a pylon or a Zealot there. Thought I heard a Prism pop. Yeah, okay. Prism is out right now. We have Gravitic Drive on the way too. And with 2-2 upgrades being started immediately after 1-1, it now feels like Astraea is setting up for a little bit of a timing attack. Splits off some Zealots from his army, adds in 2 more robotics facilities, and starts Disruptor production behind all of this. Do we have Blink yet? Yeah, we do. We have Blink, we have Charge. We're going to get 2 Robos and Disruptor production. This is pretty much the ideal setup here for Astraea. Prism going in towards the main as well, and I'm absolutely loving this. This is a fake push, or it should be a fake push. Just meant to threaten. So here you go, pretending that you want to kill a forward base, while simultaneously massive run by in the natural, big drop heading in towards, well, wait, where did the Prism go? I guess it flew into a turret and a half, yeah. Ended up dying. Still 9 SCVs do end up falling. And this is a very, how would I say it, a sustainable way to get rid of Zealots. Okay, the Zealots are these units you really want to get rid of. But you can't just throw them out for free, because then your opponent's like, hey, wait, what's happening here? You know, you need to keep your opponent busy and ideally deal some damage while you're transitioning into a more secure early late game army. Like the end of the mid game, basically. That's really what we're heading towards now. So 6 base is being taken, so Astraea expanding like a madman. He's growing faster than many Protoss that I've seen play. Really focusing on higher worker counts, big production as well, and I'm a big fan of that. 3-3 has started for him too, and is going to finish before his opponent. He can take fights though at this moment. I don't think he can. He's going to need a higher disruptor count. Really is going to need a higher disruptor count. Now this Zealot kind of fell flat on its face, which is frustrating. Because that Zealot run by was really important in keeping his opponent back. Now Ryung all of a sudden has an opportunity to perhaps move on the map. At least take this 5th base for now. 5th base is going to be not so hard to hold, honestly. 6th already on the way. I wonder if he's going to fly it here or if he just wants to move it towards this general area. The reptile crate moving around with a little reptile in it as well. A snake. A little bit of a snake. EMP is going to connect with these disruptors. Bad control here out of Astraea. 2 disruptors get taken out for free. Does still win the fight. But that's despite the control, not because of the control. This Zealot run by, or this Zealot Archon attack gets completely stopped here by these ghosts. There's no real reinforcement point either. There's no Prism on the map. Disruptor shot tries to move forward. Blink forward on top of that tank. Will get blasted here. More Zealots are being warped in behind. This fusion core is on the way. 2nd starport should be coming in soon as well. We're already on... Oh, we already have a 2nd starport. Okay, so we're on 8 barracks, 2 starports. This is looking real good for Ryung all of a sudden, who's now pushing across the map. Forces out a recon. What's that going to be? It's going to be 2 Colossi as well as an Immortal. Almost feel like Ryung could have stayed there and fought. At the same time, Zealot run by will take care of some of these tanks. Upgrades favorable right now for Astraea. It's 3-3 versus 2-2. And he's gonna need to up that disruptor count. He's getting the Shadow Stride as well. So Blink DTs are perhaps something that he's thinking about. As a battery is gonna get taken out. Immortal got stuck behind it. 6 base start flying over towards that right side. And every fight right now that Astraea takes needs to be a good fight. He doesn't have a bank and he's lower in supply already. Here we go. Purification Nova gets sent out. Cell Naga tower control. It's going to be very important here for the upcoming fight. Knowing where your opponent is and knowing how you can set up the battle. is half the battle often. Disruptor count has grown too much. I think Ryung needs to, for now, forfeit this position. This base seems to be in a risky spot as well. Not a huge fan of it. This is no shot. Really? I think he realized he was gonna lose the 6th base and then decided to drop, but then... Now what? This is weird. This is real weird. I think he should have just walked up here. I think that would have been the superior call for sure. As we have... poof. Bad boys coming in here. Nexus will get blasted. As his Liberator's doing some quite decent harassment at the moment. Ryung with the split armies, perhaps capable of doing something here. Disruptors are lacking behind the rest of the army. As none of these Purification Alphas get any major hits. Liberator does end up getting cleaned up, as the fight here is for the Selnaga Cavern. The Selnaga Tower. Still in the middle of the map, with Liberator sieging up right now and +2 ship weapons getting closer and closer. This is becoming a bit scary for Astrea at the moment. If Astrea does not manage to get Selnaga Tower control here and +2 finishes, this could be really bad for the Protoss player. Good Blink Stalker flank, but I don't think it's going to be good enough. All Colossi end up falling. All these Disruptors are completely out of position, and this is an issue on this map for Protoss, is once you lose map control, the opponent gets Liberators with range, with +2 ship weapons, it becomes close to impossible to play. Because look at this, how are you ever going to attack into this? All you need to do is keep one flank occupied as a Terran, and you can deny 3-4 bases at the same time. You're just denying an entire side, which makes split map scenarios so much easier for Terran than they are for Protoss oftentimes. So I think initially in the first, the 4 base stage, I think it's very easy for Protoss. But once you truly hit that late game, I think Terran is at a pretty decent advantage here. Disruptors are being taken out. Astrea, a complete mistake, a blunder. Just losing all of his Disruptors there pretty much for free. 64 workers to 62, but there's still a huge bank for Ryung, who now has... +2 ship weapons on those Liberators. For the people that are not aware, +2 ship weapons allows you to 2-shot Stalkers with Liberators. And if you hit an EMP, 1-shot Stalkers with Liberators. Which is absolutely crazy. So here we go. Liberators sieging up, pushing out a lot of damage. We do get a pickup here on the Medivacs, as he wants to try to keep that army alive at all costs, so his left side army can be more effective. Multitasking generally is more effective if there's actually multiple things going on at the same time. Otherwise, you're just attacking from one side, and it's way easier to deal with as a Protoss, especially if you have Disruptors. Although, okay, Disruptor count is still somewhat healthy. This Nexus is going to get taken out as well. Ryung did all of this as well, off of 5 bases. Well, at some point, I think Astrea was up to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bases. So, despite that apparent eco lead, Astrea is still not capable really of breaking his opponent, but here we go. This is a good start of a fight. Splits are good out of Ryung. Liberators are semi-siege up. Can he snipe this? Oh my god. That control was actually insane. That was really nice splits. Very good focus fire. Good understanding of when to move in, when to move out. And I think that might have actually kind of done it here. The Disruptor count is only at 4. There's a tank that has sieged up now. Ghost coming back from the right side. EMPs are connecting, and yeah. This is looking good. This is looking good for Ryung, for sure. It feels sometimes that it's not good, but the smaller the armies get, the better the Medivacs are becoming. And we're really seeing that Disruptors are best in massive armies because they're more likely to hit something. And you have more Purification Balls for zoning as well. Astrea now forced to tap out as Ryung. Kind of makes a comeback here in game number 1 of this best of 3. I think Astrea is going to be a little bit frustrated about that last game, but he has a strong mental game as well, so I'm not so worried about him. This kid, he's a competitor. He is a competitor. I don't think he got the info on that I was a Marine first, which is always nice to get, specifically if it's going to be Marine into factory over here. Smart little builder out of Ryung. Let's see how he's going to follow this up. Most likely it's going to be, I want to say cars, just purely based on the positioning of that factory. We don't have a second refinery quite yet either. It's going to be a depot here first. I'm really curious what he's going to do. Astrea, that is. He's a player that has many different types of build orders, as he's opening up with an Adept into Stalker, both units being chrono boosted, as Ryang with a proxy starport here. So it's going to be cars into a starport. And I think this, so in my mind, this is the worst case scenario for the blink expander, for the blink builder. This is, I don't want to say this is a free loss or this is a default loss, but it often does feel pretty close to a default loss. This bunker is actually too slow. What a blunder. What a blunder. What a blunder indeed here. I mean, it's going to finish up now, but that's a free SCV that just went down. Did we get the scout on that it's a factory? Yes, we indeed did. So it's going to be 2 cars into 4 cars into a medevac. And then we'll have to see and wait what's going to kick off there. We have a robotics facility being added in. A 3rd gateway unit as well coming out at this point. It's going to start a little bit late, as Blink will be delayed. So Australia really preparing for some type of armory build. He might be afraid of a 2 Hellion attack into 4 mine drop or something along those lines. I think that is kind of what he's pegging Ryang at. I don't think this is necessarily a great opener. He does have 3 gateway units pre-warp gate, which is nice. It means he's going to get up to 4 stalkers. Oh, this is just such a beautiful move, isn't it? This is just such a beautiful move. The medevac is a little bit late for some reason, as the adept doesn't quite get the scout. There's 2 stalkers in the main, there's 2 stalkers in the natural. There's now a pylon being built on the edge here. Oh no, Australia is going to be in a world of trouble, as none of this is gonna get scouted. Oh, does drop one of these Hellions in the incorrect position. Blink not done. Here we go. If the target fire is good, this is gonna cost Australia about 10 workers. Oh no, 2 entire volleys on this Nexus as well, rather than the Hellions. This is going to be, this should have been 10. The probe split is good, but I think Ryang actually kind of messed up this attack in a pretty significant way. Liberator will be the follow-up, which I like. Why do I like this Liberator? Because often the hardest thing to deal with is the counter-attack. So if you have a unit that can force things at home, that is absolutely fabulous. Gonna have to wait and see how Australia is going to transition out of it. We see Ryang with a 3rd command center as well as a 2nd barracks coming down at this point. This Liberator barely got spotted there by Stalkers, but only for a millisecond. I don't think that Australia actually saw that. That means he could be in some trouble. I think this probe might have seen it now, though. Yeah, we have a double Stalker warp in, immediately going towards the edge. Ryang will need to be fast here with this Liberator. So he moves back into the dead space. And there's no point here sieging up, really. Just time to go back home. Nothing prepared in the main either. There's 1 tank in the natural, but nothing in the main. 3rd base has been started, so I think Ryang should have been somewhat in position for this. This is the only logical follow-up. So 8 kills, I think it was. 9 kills, sorry, for Ryang, and now 9 kills for Australia as well. So I actually think that Australia is in a favorable position, because a Hellion drop is supposed to do at least 4, 5, maybe 6 kills, right? Anything above that is better, but if you then end up losing 9 workers for free to 4 stalkers, that's not a very good look here, Ryang. That is not a very good look indeed. Australia now 72 supply against the 60 of Ryang. There's going to be a tank in position, so I don't think this type of attack is going to be possible for much longer. Can tank 1 more tank shot with 1 of them stalkers, and that is going to be it. 2 more workers will fall. I mean, 2 more workers is better than no more workers. Double Forge, Robo Bay. We have an Immortal being chrono boosted as well, as the worker count should increase at a rapid pace at this point too. I'm actually kind of liking the position that Australia finds himself in. I think he's in a good spot here. Charge now starts in the main base. I wonder what the timing here is for extra gateways. I think it probably is now, just judging based on stim and combat, but then again, how far are medevacs along? Well, actually pretty close too, so then again, if you get a single Colossi out and there's no Ravens, your opponent's army consists of mainly Marines, you don't actually need that many gateway units, to be honest. You really don't. So maybe Australia is completely justified here in just building pure probes. Maybe even getting a 4th base before adding the gates. No, we'll add 4 gateways now. So this is about 20 seconds later than I would have thought would be perfect, but I think it actually doesn't matter so much because he's going to get this Colossus out in time, and I don't think this tank push can really move across the map. And if it's going to move across the map, it will most likely be without tanks. Charge is going to be done soon as well. There's still a prism on the map, which does make things a little bit more difficult here for Ryang. Well, a little bit more. Significantly more difficult here for Ryang. Hallucination Scout going in, something you don't see every day. Liberator just floating around, perhaps looking for a prism. It's not as good as a Viking. It's actually significantly worse than a Viking, but it can move a prism out of a spot where otherwise you can't reach it. Fort base now on the way. I'm afraid this is going to be a fairly unexciting game now for the next 2.5 minutes or so. I don't see any real reason for Ryang to move out, and I don't see any incentive for Austria to move out. Austria doesn't really need to move out because he's gonna have A, he has double forges researching, B, he has a faster fort base, and I think attacking into tanks is almost always a mistake unless you have Archons with your army, which Archons won't make it out in time before Ghost, so I don't really see a reason for Austria to truly do something. He's gonna try. I think this is an error. If he's truly gonna try, I think this might be fake committal. Yeah, it needs to piss off right now with this prism as well. Has some run-by setup at the same time. Fort base starting, but it's so freaking late. Gravitic Drive is on the way, double Vikings. We have 3 Ghosts as well. I mean, Austria right now should probably be moving towards a 5th base, going up to 10, 12, 14 gateways, and kind of taking it from there. I just don't see a way. Maybe you want to wait a little bit later with adding all the gateways, but at least take a 5th base, because I don't see a way for him to die right now. I don't see a way for him to die in the next minute either. I honestly think that before Ryang gets 2-2, he can't really do anything. And that means that he can't do anything, period. Because by the time Ryang has 2-2, there's going to be 6-7 disruptors out. I almost feel like Ryang needs to kind of skip a step here and go straight into Liberators. Just kind of skip the Vikings. Because without the Vikings, you could get into Libs real fast, ship weapons, maybe take it from there, play like kind of a... Just go into the late game, like skip the mid game altogether if you're Ryang. Add some defenses with the Libs and then try to get a Doom drop across the map and move out with all the Liberators. I just don't see an alternative approach working here. Just playing a standard game, he's so far down in money. He's going to be so far down in bases, so far down in upgrades. Like any straight up engagement with Viking Ghost is not going to work. It is simply impossible based on the amount of upgrades I'm seeing on the production that we have on the side here of Austria with the triple robos as well. Now 11 more workers being taken out. I think reinforcements are just going to be too plentiful here for our American Protoss player, who should probably be thinking of adding a couple of gateways at this point. Has gone up to gas 5 and 6 as well, so that is nice. And has perfect map vision as well, let's not forget about that. Has like a perfect little ring of vision around the opponent's natural. 3 Marauders being built at the same time. 3 new barracks are done, but 3-3 is starting before +2 armor is starting for the Terran. There's going to be one fight that Ryang can win, and I don't see him win it. Like this is the only solution to this game for Ryang, is winning one fight right now. And that fight needs to happen soon as well. Because otherwise production for Austria is simply going to be way too big. This is a good start of the fight for Austria. Any trade at this point is a pretty okay trade. Would love to see some more workers on that 5th. I feel like there's some oversaturation going on the main and the natural specifically. Zealots making their way towards the right side, planning perhaps for a bit of a run by here towards this base. This is a very interesting move because I don't think it should work. And I think it also exposes this army by more than you'd want to. There's only 2 disruptors here. It's going to try and hit some of these SCVs. Deadshot hits in a big way though. Might be fine, but this army is fairly exposed, and I think Ryang wants to get on top of that for now. Purification Nova not going to connect here. One more big scan for ship weapons level 1 has just completed. That means that these Colossi could be in trouble, but Zealots actually have pushed through. So Austria, with a move that I deemed a little bit too risky, is going to break his opponent now. And If you break the Terran once, I think with the type of eco that Australia's working with, you're going to continuously breaking. Went up to 10 gateways as well. Could probably add even more. Yep, there we go. 1, 2 more here being added in. 6 base probably in the works soon as well. As we have continuous warpins right now. Just a pure throwaway army with those zealots, with those colossi. Right clicks the planetary. Purification Nova's hitting everything else. And Ryung is absolutely dead at this point. Still has similar army supply, but is going to be down 3 upgrades at this point. Has significantly worse eco, significantly worse infrastructure, worse tech, as there's no liberators out against decent disruptor counts. There's just a single tank for defense. Like, Ryung wants to be on the other side of the map fighting right now, because he's on 3 bases against 6 base soon. Right now it's still 3 versus 5, but soon to be 6. The worker count is there for Australia, but Australia's the one pushing. Ryung can't even make his way across the map. There's a lot of gas in the bank for Australia. There's no Templar archives. Wouldn't also be the most useful thing, although there's actually 0 ghosts at this point. 3 more are going to be on the way. I really wonder what is going to end up happening here. Like, how does Ryung kind of maneuver from this point on out in a way that will allow him to get back into this game? Because I am not quite seeing it personally, but maybe that makes me crazy. Maybe I'm the crazy one. That's possible. We have a blink forward. Another big zealot run by to one side. Wants to kill a planetary, but there's no planetary. That's how poor Ryung is currently. Mines are being detonated by these disruptors. Disruptor count just simply too high. Ghost still not in position. 11 more SCVs have gone down. 86 workers to 48. 107 army supply against 113. We still have the upgrade lead as well. Like, this, literally everything is in favor of Australia at this point. It is... Oh my god. Except this move. It's going to be probably fine. Loses a few disruptors, but the trade overall still okay. Just had so much more here. GG gets called, and Australia will tie up this series with a 1-1 score. Very clean playing out of Australia, honestly. Like, if I think back of that game, there's just not a whole lot that went wrong for him. And, well, actually the early game could have gone completely wrong, but he stayed calm, went for a sensible counterattack while playing Blink, and kind of just figured it out, honestly. I really liked how this went for him. I kind of think this was, I don't want to call it brilliant, because, you know, the bar for brilliant is a bit higher, but it was very solid Protoss play. Protoss often is just about making correct decisions every single time. And I think Australia really made the correct decision every single time. It reminds me a bit of his home story cup run. I want to say it was a year ago when he was 3rd. He wasn't necessarily super impressing me with some of the micro perhaps, but the decision making is just freaking high tier. Like, he's just someone that looks at a situation, Australia that is, and makes the right call every single time. And I think that is such a huge skill to have. Like, theoretically, the theory in StarCraft is not so difficult if you have the full overview like we do, right? We see what's going on and we have a lot of time to think about it because we're not doing the mechanical aspect. And we have full information. For Australia to make these correct calls every single time, it means good information gathering. It means being in the moment there when decisions are being made. You know, it's so easy to kind of get caught up into some garbage, like chasing an army when you shouldn't, like claiming a win when you can't claim it yet, and then throwing away a significant lead that you had. But Australia is very careful with leads that he gets. He builds on those leads, and then eventually it's just too much, and he wins the game. And it's a beautiful thing to watch. It really is. All right. Ooh, there's a quick cybernetic score as well. 158. Australia, you absolute gangster of a player. Standard timing for that quarter finish is the 2-minute mark. 158 means he's done something very right with the worker stacking in the main base. Otherwise, that's simply not going to be possible. Also means that his adept is going to be across the map 2 seconds quicker, which could allow for something special, because it was a Marine into Reaper. He's going to play Twilight again, isn't he? He's going to play Twilight, that's for sure. There we go. We have this Marine into Reaper type of style, which I think Australia is aware of, because he's also just chronoing his second adept straight, which is a good move against this type of play. Might still lose a word. Nah. Quick response. Australia's playing really well today. He really is. Playing some fantastic StarCraft too. Second gateway does go down in the natural. Almost loses an SCV there, Ryung that is. Australia with some nice... This is really nice control, it honestly is. I think you might be almost be capable of getting that. Australia, pay attention. Could have clicked it, was probably busy doing something else, although I'm not quite sure what. Second adept now makes its way across the map. This Reaper is still looking for something. I don't think this Reaper is gonna find what he's looking for. Sentry, ugh. This is a dirty build. This is a dirty build. So probably just gonna go into an expansion off of this. Did build a third pylon, so it's not going to be the quickest possible expansion. So if I'm Australia, what do I do here? Actually, I have no clue what I do here. I don't know what the correct call is in this case. Needs to be careful. Well, this is gonna move in. Ryung sees the recall, moves away right away. Third nexus goes down, as well as another pylon. Oh, this is going to be a... Oh, it's going to be one of these again, huh? A little bit of a tank push. I mean, if it works, it works, but... These builds are... They have been out of fashion, I think, a little bit as of late. Ryung bringing them back. Technically, what Australia has is one of the better builds against this. I think 4-gate blink is the best, but 2-gate blink is still fairly good. I'm still somewhat afraid, though. We need quick warp-ins the entire way through. Okay, we do get 2 more Stalker warp-ins. This hallucination just barely misses the move out. That is frustrating. That is really freaking frustrating. A pylon is going down, but... this is a pylon to unsupply block at 62, and this pylon is toast. Like, we can already say that right now. Like, this pylon is absolute toast. There's no battery in position either, which is huge. This might be detrimental here for Australia. Australia needs to do something. And I don't think that something is here, honestly. I think this is a cancel. I don't think you can fight this. I simply do not think you can. Absolutely not. Loses 2-3 adepts here, basically for free. 2 adepts, 1 sentry go down, and now the Nexus dies. I think this should have been a cancel. Still can't really go in. Can 2-shot a tank now, though. With 11 Stalkers. Loses 3 Stalkers, though. Sorry, with 6 Stalkers. So even if you lose 1 Stalker with 6 Stalkers, you still 2-volley a tank because it requires 11 shots. So that Nexus goes down. I think Australia tried too hard to save this Nexus. He's gonna take the alternative third base. Hasn't lost any workers, which is nice. If he just would have cancelled the Nexus and kept all of his units alive, maybe on the retreat this army can be taken out. I'm so surprised Ryung is going back home. There's nothing here, and you know there's nothing here as well, because you know your opponent is on 2-gate. What? You at least need to test the waters, no? There was 2 free pylons for picking. Of course, Ryung isn't... No, he was aware of that. He could have cleared these 2 pylons for free, 100%, and then you just check this. Like, losing a tank is not the end of the world, and you're always going to escape with the medevac, because there was hardly going to be enough Stalkers to do anything against that. There was like 4 Stalkers, and 2 of them were stuck on the wrong side. What a blunder by Ryung. I think this was a free win for him, and he kind of gave it away now. I'm not saying that Australia's winning, but the position really isn't that bad. Well, no, it's actually pretty bad. No, sorry. The position is really bad. He's once again going into double forge here off of 2 gateways, which feels like it carries some significant risk. There's going to be a low ground 3rd command center. No, wait, it's already done. I thought this was going to be in position. Holy crap. Okay, this looks real good for Ryung. I think this base might actually be toast. Is there charge? There's no charge. There's not enough Stalkers. Oh, yeah, this base is gonzo, 100%. Stalker's not trying to attack this thing, but that's not going to work. This base is adios. This base is 100% adios. Minus 8 workers as well. There's 2 Reapers. I think that's a mistake. A new one has been added into the mix. And this base is gone. And here comes the Colossus. Micro the Marines. No. Is Stim not done? The Stim is not even done yet. Holy crap. Bunker's going to get cancelled as well, as the 2 tanks are helping out. I think here you just piss off if you're Ryung. Not so sure why we're keeping this position, unless you want to go for this high ground. But I don't think that is super vital. Ryung is making some odd decisions. He's really far ahead, just from the build orders and the early game and now the move outs, but staying here just seems like a massive, massive liability. Because at some point that's going to get cleaned up, right? At some point that's going to get cleaned up. Cybercore will end up falling. It's Double Nexi are going down here for Australia. Sending a couple of stalkers across the map. We'll lose 2 against a tank shot. Hugely painful here. So recall will need to be utilized as well. Another pylon goes down a probe will fall. I mean, Ryung is just absolutely owning at this point. I don't see a realistic path to victory here for Australia. I think that is also just something we need to be honest about, right? Like, where is the realistic path to victory for Australia? You tell me. Because I ain't seeing it. Like, how does he do it? He's getting more gateways now. Do you just camp on Colossi? Try to get 2-2 out and then transition in Disruptors? I actually think the correct call, although it sounds stupid, is to stop Colossus production and just get Disruptors and pray. Hope your opponent massively messes up, because you can't win straight up engagements. It is simply impossible. Like, these tanks aren't even sieged. This is how little Ryung cares about this puny little army. Australia preemptively cancels this as well. I don't think that had been spotted yet. I'm not so sure if it was. I don't think it was. I think trying to get that base up might not have been a mistake. But yeah, without Disruptors, how are you going to clean this army? There's not enough batteries. There's not enough units. Now tanks are slowly but surely creeping forward. Even with Disruptors, it would be close to impossible, but you can always pray for a massive hit on this army. Australia trying to take different base, but it's just absolutely not working here for him. 4th base on the way for Ryung, while Australia is stuck on 2. He's double expanding once again, but this has been a freaking disaster for the American Protoss this game. After playing so well in that previous one, Ryung saying, hey, if your early game is good, it's scary, so how about I make it a good early game for me? Honestly, that last game even, if Ryung micros that slightly better, that early game, in my mind, should be way better for him. But it wasn't, and from there on out, I think Australia played it out beautifully. Not a single Purification Nova is going to hit, so even Disruptors here, not with the save. I mean, it is 160 supply against 94 at this point. Tanks moving forward. It's really hard to lose with Viking tank against such a weak army. It's just such a... Like, you can't really mess up the micro with tanks, right? They just shoot by themselves and they deal a crap ton of damage of infinite range. GG gets called. Ryung wins. Knocks out Australia out of the GSL. And that is very sad for foreigners around the world. As that means there's no foreigners in GSL. Alright, that will be it for me. And for Australia and for Ryung for today. Also for you guys, this is going to be it. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see all of you next time for a new video. Bye bye.